Hey everyone, it's Pete here from the Pain Toolkit. Good afternoon to you. I'd like to say it's a sunny UK, but unfortunately, no, it's not. It's very dull and overcast. We've had some rain this morning, but Mr. Sunshine's coming back this afternoon, so always not lost. And if it's really gets it really nice and sunny, I might try and get out on the bike for a quick ride. So anyway, let's get back down to facts. Today I've got Sarah Haag with me, a physical therapist from Chicago over there in America. So good afternoon or good morning to you, Sarah.
Hi, Pete. It's nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, we've had sort of conversations, I guess, via email and whatnot. So it's good to finally actually, albeit a visual thing, to see you actually. You know what I mean, anyway. Hey, listen. First off, thanks for agreeing to do the interview. It's fantastic. I did an interview with Carlton the other day, a physiotherapist from Norway, and he actually mentioned something that you put on a message. It was like a blog, I guess. Would you call it a blog?
Yep, just a blog.
A blog. Which you put on there back in February of this year, but I only caught up with it a few weeks ago. And it was entitled, An Open Letter to My Patient's Previous Therapist. Now, when I saw that, it actually started to remind myself back in the day when I was first I got my back pain, etc. And I really wasn't really, I suppose I saw a physiotherapist and they was giving me exercises, but the information was skimmed. There was not, I look back and it was very, it wasn't very encouraging sort of information, but when I was reading this blog of yours where the therapist was actually deactivating the person, telling them not to do things. Oh, I mean, if I had any hair, I'd be pulling it out. But listen, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to hand over to you. Can you actually tell the viewers why you wrote that blog and what inspired you to write it?
Yeah, so I did. So it was a real patient that I was writing about, and I tried to de-identify this person as much as possible, but because it could be any of my patients, to be honest, who it was just this one day where this person was always this person was so discouraged. And the words that were said to this person from healthcare providers whose only job, in my opinion, was to help them function better were terrible. Well-meaning, I'm assuming at the time, but I was just enraged. And I don't get upset a lot. I think for the most part, people, at least when they meet me in person, find that I'm pretty laid back and not terribly judgmental. But was I mad? The things that were told to this person were just not true. And the fact that it would take away this person's, kind of like you said, it was taking away this person's life, putting it on hold and making them a patient.
Yeah.
Which is really the part that got me, is that we're supposed to help people not be really good at home programs, not be really good. Your goal shouldn't be to tolerate sitting in the doctor's office for 30 minutes. Your goal really should be, I always say, I want to discharge you back to your life, the life you want, as best as we can. And so just after this day, I was almost crying after this visit. You try to hold it together. And then, once this person walked out, I was like, I'm done. And I actually wrote it. I don't journal and I don't do many blogs. This one's from February, obviously. But so I wrote it and then I had Sandy take a look at it. I'm like, does this sound too angry? She's like, I think it sounds perfect. So I posted it without thinking too much about it. And it's obviously hit a chord. But I think for me, with everyone reading this, it seems to be speaking to people who have had pain, which is awesome. But I hope it's also hitting clinicians so that when we say something like be careful, or don't do that, that to reflect on that and think, what are we really trying to get them to be careful of?
Could you, I know, because it's not a big, a long blog, but could you actually just tell viewers just some of the things that the other therapist was telling that patient what not to do, or what not to do, and then well, you tell the viewers what, what was said, because I mean, I can read it, but to me, I think it's got to come from you, really.
Yeah, one of the things that really confused me was this whole idea that this person shouldn't go to college, and that they should really stay close to home where they could get the health care and the support they needed from their family. Which, when you're going through something, support from your family, that's good, but also, again, stopping your life to do that, not so great. Another thing was this person had a motorcycle and had been saving and working to get a bigger motorcycle. And was told to save that money, sell the other motorcycle, because really riding a motorcycle would probably make them worse. And I mean, I missed out on my psychic degree, I guess. Like, there's just, again, telling people to not do things because it might make them worse or it will make them worse implies that we know the future. And really, I don't know, maybe it's the way I was brought up, that like, you really don't know until you try. So give it a shot, see what happens. This person was told to not do CrossFit because it was too intense. They couldn't handle it. And turns out over the course of our time together, this person could handle it and actually didn't feel worse doing CrossFit, but felt pretty awesome that they could go and hang out with their friends and do CrossFit. So so those were just the three biggest things, I think. The biggest thing, the stay home from college, stay home and be taken care of by others, was probably the one that made me most angry.
Yeah, I think I'd say all these negative messages for us. So the thing with most people with pain, when we got persistent pain for after 3 months, they call it persistent pain, or some people call it chronic, and I mean the phrase persistent pain. And if it's you lose your confidence. You've gone from that being a can-do person to becoming a can't-do person, and our confidence wanes. It goes down, and for me, and many other people, you used to like do things, but you can't do them. You feel you can't do them anymore. And for me, riding a bike, riding a motorbike, I thought that I would never actually ever do that. And that was when I was on my pain management program in London back in '96. That was they said about setting long-term goals, and that was my long-term goal to get back on a bike. Now, I only got back on a bike last year, but what prompted me to do that was kicking a bit of a kick up the arse, really, because I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2016. I thought, shit, I better start emptying my bucket list, I'll do my bucket list. And when I look back now, I thought, I'll kick myself. I think, what the hell what have I waited so long to get a bike, And as you know, I've seen the pictures now. I bought a Harley. I love them so much, babes. I bought another one.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. I've had three. I've had three. I had bought a Dynaglide, the first one last year, the red one. And then a mate of mine said, you know what, a fat boy would suit you. So I bought a fat boy in January, and I loved that so much. Another one come up for sale a couple of months ago, and I sold the first one, and I bought another fat boy, which is more sort of custom. And I was out on it yesterday. And do you know what? The pleasure I get, I'll get some discomfort from riding it, but the memories I've got of riding it, far outweigh the discomfort. Because I've learned over the years that, you might get a bit of discomfort, your pain levels may go up a little bit, but they go away. But that experience that you're having, like in my case, riding a bike, will last. The memories of it will last longer than the actual any discomfort or pain, So I think limiting people, you know, and I think, you know what, I think sometimes it's not our fears, it's the healthcare professionals' fears. Somewhere along the line, they've limited themselves, so therefore they pass on their fears to us, like, you know. I mean, what do you think to that?
I totally understand, or totally agree. And I also kind of wonder if it's kind of just a misunderstanding of maybe the possibilities in life and where pain can and should live in life, right? So there's no way we're going to live life pain-free forever. Like, it just doesn't happen. Pain's essential for life. But I think it's funny that the pain, the discomfort you might get from riding your Harley for 2 hours might be the exact same pain from sitting at your computer for 2 hours. So this idea that we should only do essential, whatever we judge as essential, or what we should be doing as opposed to what we want to be doing, I think instead of trying to limit people and protect them from pain, instead go, you know what? Pain's going to happen. Discomfort's going to happen. What would you like to be doing if it were to happen?
Yeah.
And can we, I just had a gentleman in yesterday who, it's so nice when like the switch flips for people. He's like, look, so I jogged 1/10 of a mile. My symptoms went up, but then they went down. So now I'm going to do 2/10 of a mile. I was like, you get it. Like, you don't need me to tell you anything else. You can push those edges, and if you push them too far, take a rest. I'm here if you have any questions or if I can be of assistance. But once people can understand that pain isn't a red flag, that then you can do anything in the entire world. And again, when it's the clinician who's supposed to be helping these people, putting the limits on these people, that's one thing that gets me really kind of hot.
Listen, I need to ask you a question, because when I was over in Orlando last year, I was doing a presentation at the American Pain Academy, and I was talking to them about, well, the audience, about how to engage with the person with pain, encouraging them to self-manage, etc. But I kept having guys or clinicians coming up to me afterwards saying, look, this is fabulous, but we don't actually get paid to talk to patients. And I thought, hey, what's going on here? Now, I know that may be an American thing, and I'm not sure if it's a thing it may happen in Australia. I can't quite remember. And in the UK, I don't know, the NHS is a funny creature. But do you think that that when someone's been diagnosed with a health problem, albeit something musculoskeletal, or in your case, you're in Sandy, you do the pelvic pain stuff and whatnot. Do you think that really in the person's interest to go and see the physical therapist, because they're the people who will be talking to them more than the clinician?
If by clinician you mean like a physician,
Yeah.
The short answer is yeah. So in this country, the way, especially with third-party payers, doctors are getting about 7 minutes with the patient, which is, yeah, so that's hardly enough time. And depending on the state you're in the United States, you can go to a physio first, which is great. In fact, Illinois, we just got that ability last week, which is super exciting.
Excellent, yeah.
So the answer is yes. I think going to a physio could be super helpful, with a ginormous asterisk after that, because pain education is still not super fantastic for physio. So I would say it would depend on the PT you chose. Too often there's still people who are, even though I think we're probably, this is just my opinion, best place to help educate people and to help listen to those fears and concerns and worries and those goals and the whole story going with their experience to help them come up with a plan. Yeah. It's very often, again, and it does go back to billing, where it's like, I have to do things to them or with them, and talking to them isn't one of those things we get paid for. So I would say the best clinicians, the most elite clinicians, figure out a way to make that happen in a system that perhaps needs some updating. So that was a super long answer to, there's a lot of physicians who don't have the time, unfortunately, to listen and educate. Physios can. I'm afraid we're just not as much as we could.
Now, one of the things I'm always a bit of a, I know I'm always going on about the medical model. And to me, that's king. In other words, so when someone goes to medical school, physio school, I don't know, I'm not sure about OTs, they probably might be a bit different, but I know with people who have become physicians, doctors and whatnot, they seem to be taught in this thing called a medical model, where it's very treatment focused, what we will do to the person, not so much talk to the patient or the person about what they can do. Well, this is what I'm going to be doing, but more importantly, what are you going to be doing? So for me, I think the only way these things are going to change, and that is if medical schools start including a self-management model, have a conversation with a person, but also I'm also thinking, I'm liking to this idea that I picked up a couple of years ago, where self-management or pain self-management, it's taught within the schools, because that way we're giving them, that young person, lifelong skills, but the chances are they're going to get they may get a pain problem or a health problem somewhere along the line. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
You mean on educating, like, kind of the public at large, what pain is?
Educating the public, but also getting into the medical schools and also, I mean, like you guys, I mean, you've got that expertise there. What about getting in on the medical schools and saying, yeah, okay then, docs, but what about doing some educational stuff for the healthcare professional, the up and coming healthcare professionals, so they start to learn self-management stuff, so they can actually start engaging their patients?
I think that's a great idea. There was I think it was off of a podcast with Karen Litzy. There was someone talking about how in American medical schools, at least, the musculoskeletal pain portion is 6 hours long. So consider what a big problem pain is. Even though there's still a lot of it we don't understand, what we do think we understand about it still isn't being taught, at least not very well, and it's not being emphasized as a intervention or a treatment, right? They're still it's still all very procedural based. Like you said, it's stuff we're going to do to you. We're going to tell you what to do. So yes, I think that'd be great. I'm really excited because Sandy and I are going to be doing some pain talks at a DPT, at a Doctor of Physical Therapy program this year. So we can make sure that pain is getting more right. We're going to do our best.
Whereabouts are you doing that? Whereabouts is
that? In North Chicago. It's a school called Rosalind Franklin. So we get to give a couple lectures on pain, which I'm over the moon about. But medical schools, yes, they need more on pain. They need more on how to give the right information to people so that they can better self-manage and not just send them for scans or give them drugs. In fact, here we're lucky if they even get a script for physio, be like, hey, why don't you go try this? Yeah. But I think perhaps a more effective way would be to kind of educate the public, empower the people to know that if you hurt, yeah, let's get it checked, but also that it isn't, you're not tumbling down that road that, your mom had a bad back, your grandma had a bad back, and now you have a bad back. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no reason that you have to walk that same road, but we assume it unless we know better. So.
What's, let's say, I know you've got a busy day and I don't want to tax you even more, and it's still very early there. Can you just sort of sum up, I guess, I mean, what would be your take-home messages for people with pain? Or a message, not messages, probably one or two, perhaps. What would be a take-home message for people who are watching this, who are living with persistent pain? And what would be your take-home message for healthcare professionals who are watching this?
Okay, I'll do healthcare professionals first.
Okay.
The take-home message there would be there's no reason to assume the worst. If people can get worse, there's no reason to assume they couldn't get better. So don't be the thing that's in the way of your patients feeling better. So just stop it and be positive, because we don't know it's going to get worse. So you might as well spin it on positive, in my opinion. For people who hurt, you can get better and you can live a better life. That you don't have to stop living just because you're hurting. And if the help you're currently getting is making you feel like you're stuck, it's okay to find other help.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic stuff, info. And I think sometimes we're a bit too, you know, we get a healthcare professional, but we forget that you guys don't come out of a jelly mold, and that not everybody's the same. And I certainly found that out a couple of years ago when I started to see oncologists and urologists and people like that. And I'm lucky that see, the thing is with learning pain, for me, pain management, they're not just skills for managing the pain, but they're lifelong skills for managing other stuff as well. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I found myself doing, especially when I got diagnosed with the prostate stuff, was I allowed myself to be put back in the medical model. In other words, I was taking out the driving seat and put in the passenger seat. And I was a passenger. I'm sort of travelling around, you know, right, you go to this department, and I was cracking myself, really. You know, I'll be honest with you, Sarah. I remember I was coming back from the hospital, one of the early visits. I'd just seen an oncologist, and I thought, I was walking back down to the station to get a train back home, and I said to myself, "Shit, I don't think I'm going to last Christmas with this guy, with these dudes." You know, I thought, do you know what I thought about what I needed to do? I thought I better buy myself a bigger TV. I know that sound a bit odd. I thought, so I'm walking down there, I think, Christ, I don't think I'm going to see Christmas. I didn't have any faith in them. And I was talking to a pain mate of mine in the pain world, Sam. And I was talking to him about what was going on and all that, because I thought I was a goner. And he said to me, "Pete, how do you manage your pain?" I said, "Well, you know how I manage it. I'm very proactive." He said, "Well, why the hell are you being so passive with these guys?" And I said, "You know what, Sam, you're dead right." You know, and I put the phone down. And I said, "Bloody hell, yeah, I've got to get myself back in the driving seat." And I think this is what it is with us, like, you know, we think that whatever you say is like God's, you know, like God's, you know, message is being passed down from God or someone, you know, and that's it. And you think yourself, well, you know, there are other ways here, you know, and I've been managing my prostate sort of stuff the same way as I do my pain, really. You know, keep yourself in a driving seat, eat healthier, exercise, and all that sort of stuff, you know. So, is there any other things we should talk about before you go?
No,
I know we're gonna have a coffee in Boston. We're both attending the. Hey, listen, let's tell the viewers. I mean, we was both writing a proposal, weren't we, earlier this year, to run a workshop at the IS meeting in Boston next month, and we got turned down. And all of a sudden, they've contacted me recently saying, "Oh, can you come over there? We're doing some sort of patient initiatives and whatnot, and but would you like to do a workshop? If you're around and you fancy giving it a whirl, come and do a little bit with me if you fancy doing that. Yeah?
Oh,
if you're up for it.
Yeah, you just let me know what you're up to.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's on there. I'm not sure what the date of it yet. I've got to check it out, but come along and perhaps do a little section with me if you fancy it, and we'll work something out.
If nothing else, I'll just have a listen and see, you know.
Okay, right, you can come and chill out. I'll be honest now, I'm going to forewarn you, it's very interactive. But the main thing is we have a lot of fun as well.
No, I think that'd be great. Yeah, I'm excited for that because, so actually the story of Entropy, Sandy and I decided to open Entropy when we were at our first IS convention in Milan. We were stranded on a train platform for a little bit, and we kind of sat down and just said, look, let's hash this out and do it, or stop talking about it. And so now here we are. So we've gone several times. Sandy's been every time since. So she's been to, this will be her fourth, my third. But what's awesome is that it used to be primarily like a lot of basic science. So a lot of like researchers talking about what happens to zebrafish lips if you inject them with this and things like that. And one of the complaints was that it wasn't very patient focused. And also it was kind of funny. Sandy and I kept getting asked, why are you here? You're just clinicians. And it's like, well, who do you think is using your stuff? Like, we have to go help people with the stuff we learned from you, or at least try to. So it's super exciting to me that they're having more patient interaction, because you guys are the ultimate end users of any pain research, right? Like, if we can't apply it to people who are hurting, what's the point?
Well, I'm excited because Jo Belton from Denver, she's from Colorado, she's going to be at the meetings with me. I think she's actually doing a workshop as well. So what IASP are doing, it's like rockets. It's very Captain Kirk stuff, and that's why I'm pumped from it. I'm buzzing. I can't. Oh yeah, can't wait to be there, because this is to me. I thought they'd never actually ever do it. So why not in my lifetime? So they're actually doing it. So I'm really excited that they're actually involving patients, and I think that the fact that we've been invited to a couple of meetings where they want to see how they can engage more patients in a global sort of way. The European Pain Federation that I belong to as well, they do that now. There's a patient section on the website where people can get information, because so it has to be teamwork. You can't be, there has to be that sort of collaboration along the way, and you can't. It's not all up to you, and it's not all down to us. Like, we have to have that little bit of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, I'm loving to leave you. By the way, the sun's just coming out. Mr. Sunshine, you're welcome, baby. I love it. What's the weather like over there in Chicago?
Today we're just moving into autumn a little bit. So this morning it was, I'm so sorry, it's going to be in Fahrenheit, but it was like 65 degrees. But I can do a quick translation. So around 65, hold on. What did we do before iPhones? Will tell me how.
We used to write things and crap like that.
So it's about 20 degrees here to start, which, it's a little cooler than it's been, but then it's going to warm up. It's beautiful and sunny, and I'm kind of excited that we can just have the windows open and enjoy the fresh air.
Sarah, it's been gorgeous, man. I'll tell you what, I love. It's been really, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. It's been a pleasure to see you. I can't wait to see you in Boston in a couple of weeks' time. And we'll sit down and we'll have a coffee and whatnot. Okay. So just if you stay on the line, I'm just going to hit the stop record button, and then I'll catch up with you in a minute.